KPRC2 News begins right now with breaking news.
And that breaking news right now out of Deer Park. Let's take a look from Sky 2 showing us the Shell Pemex plant where a chemical release killed 2 people and affected as many as 35 others. The shelter-in-place order given earlier for the surrounding neighborhoods is no longer in place. KPRC2 News is your source tonight at 10 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Daniela Guzman. Authorities with the plant say the chemical released as hydrogen sulfide. That gas is used to refine oil, to make craft paper, and to tan leather, and it smells like rotten eggs. The mayor of Deer Park says that smell will linger around that site near Beltway 8 and State Highway 225, but there should be no danger to neighborhoods. KPRC2's Devin Clark live at the scene to get answers. Devin?
Yeah, Danny, as you mentioned, there is no threat to the public right now. That's according to the mayor of Deer Park and Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, who just wrapped up a press conference. They wanted to emphasize that even though some people might still be smelling that rotten egg scent, the levels of that gas are so low that it is not a harm to the community. Now, we do have some chopper video from a little bit earlier. Officials say that around 5:23, Deer Park PD was dispatched for a chemical leak of hydrogen sulfide, also known as H2S, at Pemex. It prompted a regional response from multiple agencies. Now, there are no full count of exposures right now, but we do know that they have lifted the shelter in place after confirmation that there is no danger to the public. Unfortunately, 2 men are dead on the scene, and we know that approximately 35 people who work there have been triaged at the scene, and it's possible that 5 of them may have been taken to the hospital. Now, Gonzalez says it will be about 7 or 8 hours before his team is able to get into the facility because H2S levels inside are still elevated. Let's take a listen to what he had to say earlier.
They were working on a flange of some kind, so it looks, we don't know what, if it was some type of manual error. Again, that's going to be part of our investigation, so frankly, I don't want to delve too much into that because this is all still preliminary. And I always believe, let's let our investigative team get in there, really working in tandem with our partners, try to determine what happened.
Now, we do know that State Highway 225, which was shut down as a precaution, is now being reopened. Again, both the shelter in place for Pasadena and for Deer Park have been lifted tonight, but the scene at the plant itself still being considered active. We asked, how did this happen? They're still investigating that, and as soon as we get more information, we'll bring it to you. But for now, reporting live in Deer Park, Devin Clark, KPRC2
Now from
News.
Pakistan, where 20 coal miners have been gunned down in a shocking attack in Balochistan province. The attack was carried out by heavily armed men who laid siege to their lodgings in the restive southwestern province. The police said Friday that up to 40 attackers fired at the miners for half an hour, starting around just after midnight. The head of the police in Duki district said that the attackers escaped into the night, adding that they had rocket launchers and hand grenades with them. Now, the separatist militant groups in Balochistan regularly target natural resource extraction projects dotted across the mineral-rich province. Many of the schemes are financed and operated by foreign countries, most notably neighboring China, which the armed factions accuse of hoarding wealth. However, mines cannot be owned by any foreign individual or entity. They would have to be in minor partnership with a local Baloch person. The owner of the coal mine said that there are 10 coal mines located in the area where the attackers also set mining machinery on fire. And our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik has the latest.
Well, at least 20 coal miners have been killed, another 7 injured in Balochistan's Duki when an attack took place on their accommodation overnight. The attackers targeted the accommodation through rocket launchers and grenades and also set fire to the machinery. Now, this has been classified as a terrorist attack, and both the Prime Minister and President have condemned it. The Chief Minister of Balochistan has said that those injured should be looked after when it comes to medical care. With that being said, no organization has claimed responsibility, but in the past we've seen that similar attacks have happened and they had been claimed by the banned terror outfit Baloch Liberation Army. Anas Malik in Islamabad, Pakistan for
An elderly man from Sydney's inner west ventured out on a stroll to the shops, never to return home. Allegedly murdered in broad daylight. Witnesses to the attack outside Ashfield Mall claim it was sparked by a racial insult.
It's a busy Sunday on Ashfield's High Street, and this man is heading for the mall. Shrouded in shrubbery, this encounter appears to be two strangers passing until it's not. The first punch is thrown, and the man in the beanie continues, pushing the other to the ground. A shocking, disturbing attack, all in front of John Lew and his customers on September 29.
The man straight away started to attack the old man. And hit his, I can see it on the video, it's very hard. Hit his head and his face, and then push him on the ground.
The public rush to the man's aid before paramedics and police arrive. The victim is ushered to a stretcher, and while he appears to be okay, he's now died from his injuries. The 76-year-old was still conscious when he arrived here at the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. But within hours, he took a turn and was rushed into surgery. His life support was switched off 11 days later. The alleged perpetrator, 58-year-old Brian Dutton, charged with murder and now behind bars. Witnesses claiming it was a racial slur directed towards the victim, which prompted him to turn around.
In Ashfield, you can see there's a slogan there, like a race is not welcome. For us, it feels really unsafe, uncomfortable. Yeah, so it's not acceptable.
In Ashfield, Madison Scott, 9 News.
As premiums surge and the cost of living crisis bites, insurance is fast becoming an optional extra for many Australian families. But affordability issues are also hitting small businesses, like those helping to build much-needed new homes.
In a nation of storms, surges, fires and floods, insurance is vital. But from inside Parliament, a warning the changing climate is changing policies.
If it continues to do what it is, parts of the world are beginning to become completely uninsurable.
The cost of cover growing, that financial strain now showing, and the uptake tonight slowing.
For many people now, things like insurance have become unaffordable.
This has not happened overnight either. We are determined as a government to employ every method available for us in the interests of consumers here.
Because building costs have gone up so much in Australia, that's pushing up insurance premiums exponentially.
Those costs flow to small business that in turn pass those costs on to consumers, impacting their ability to afford insurance.
They're struggling to feed themselves, they're struggling to pay the rent, and the idea of taking out insurance has been beyond them for far too long.
Insurance, material costs and interest rates combining for the worst year for new home builds in a decade at a time they're needed most. Tonight, new figures from the ABS show the total number of dwellings commenced in June down 3.6% on June last year. That was largely units and semi-detached, with new private houses up 2.6%. The industry blaming a lack of labour.
There is a big public interest right now in making sure that we do get people we need to build the houses that we need.
Those trades expected in an update to Australia's migration skills priority list, providing some insurance for the industry. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Has the German government learned its lesson from Nord Stream 2? Apparently, yes. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz paid a surprise visit to Belgrade a few weeks ago to sign a major lithium mining deal with Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić in a bid to reduce the EU's dependency on China. Germany has ambitions to build 15 million electric vehicles by 2030 to keep its automobile industry afloat, which the German economy is largely dependent upon. But widespread protests are planned across Serbia this weekend, with more than half of the Serbian population rejecting plans to mine in the Jadar Valley. These plans are not only controversial due to the environmental cost of mining, but also because of the politics. EU countries such as Austria, Portugal and the Czech Republic have large quantities of lithium in them. So it seems that the EU just wants to keep the dirty work outside of its own backyard. Liv Stroud in Berlin for Euronews.
Secretary, it's Jackie Heinrich from Fox. I want to ask you about a different story. This Afghan national who was working for the CIA in Afghanistan was arrested for planning an election day terror plot. He was brought to the U.S. after Afghanistan collapsed. Your agency says as part of the SIV program. The State Department is telling us he was not part of the SIV program, which had strenuous vetting. They say he was never issued an SIV or immigrant visa, and DHS paroled him into the U.S. They further expect the court document to be updated to reflect this from the DOJ side. So, Mr. Secretary, how was this man brought into the U.S.? What screening did he undergo? What did he apply for to get here?
Jackie, I'm here in North Carolina communicating with the individuals who are still conducting search and rescue operations. Over 200 people have lost their lives in Hurricane Helene. We have reports that at least 10 individuals have lost their lives as a result of Hurricane Milton. I'd be very pleased to answer your question in a different setting, but we're here to talk about emergencies and the support that we can deliver to people in desperate need. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Mr. Secretary, but we're getting conflicting answers from your agency and from the State Department about a man who was arrested for an election day terror plot. How do you not have those answers prepared?
Oh, Jackie, that's not what I said. What I said is I'd be pleased to discuss this issue at a different time, but I am here to speak about disasters that have impacted people's lives in real time, and that is a subject that I'm addressing today.
Mr. Secretary, can you assure people that appropriate steps have been taken to secure the country against these kinds of threats? Because the outstanding question is whether this man was radicalized before the U.S. government brought him here or afterward. And people should be concerned about that.
Jackie, your persistence in questioning can be matched by my persistence in answers.
All right, we're going to go. Go ahead, Gabe.
It used to be the crown jewel of South Africa's coal industry, but the Komati power plant is now completely empty. Its shutdown in 2022 was supposed to herald a new era of energetic transition for the country, yet 2 years later almost nothing has changed, and some 400 former workers are still waiting for the employment opportunities they were promised.
When we lost our jobs here at Eskom, it's affected the Komati community in a big way. Some people were left with nothing.
South African energy giant Eskom had vowed to create hundreds of new jobs and to convert the Komati power plant from coal to renewable energy. But to date, only a few minor projects have seen the light of day, something which Eskom blames on administrative delays and a lack of organization which prevented it from beginning construction in time. The company says it's now learned from its mistakes as South Africa prepares to close 5 more coal power plants by 2030.
Yeah, technically we should have done things earlier, so we would consider it not a success. But we've learned from that, and other stations are now applying lessons learned from Komati.
South Africa is the world's 12th biggest greenhouse gas emitter and still depends on coal for 80% of its power. In 2021, it became the first nation to sign a Just Energy Transition Partnership at the COP26. It's since received over 13 billion euros in loans and subsidies, but has so far little to show for it.
Well, as geopolitical tensions escalate, the upcoming BRICS summit under Russia's chairmanship promises to be critical for its members.
The 16th edition of the summit is to take place from the 22nd of October in Kazan. BRICS used to refer to Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, but now the group expanded, and in January, of course, it now includes Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. So on one hand are China, Russia and Iran, which have expressed strong anti-Western positions, and on the other hand, members like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt maintain a delicate balance between their Western partnerships and Russia.
Apart from the newly expanded BRICS, Cuba is among those countries who want to join the group of growing economies. The country's foreign minister wrote to the Russian President Vladimir Putin for the nation's incorporation into BRICS. The Caribbean country's bid to join the bloc comes shortly after Azerbaijan confirmed that it is also pushing for BRICS membership following a meeting between Putin and the Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev.
Meanwhile, Sri Lanka is also planning to submit an official request to join the BRICS grouping. Even though Sri Lanka's newly elected president, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, will not be able to attend the summit, its Ministry of Foreign Affairs will participate at the official level. Membership of BRICS is invitation only, and multiple countries were given the chance to join at the start of this year. BRICS was founded in 2009 to foster closer ties among Russia, China, India and Brazil, and now comprises 9 members with 45% of the world's population. The BRICS nations account for up to 28% of global exports. The combined GDP of the member states exceeds that of the G7 nations.
West Asia has been on the edge, awaiting Israel's response to an Iranian missile strike last week. Both the rivals, US and Iran, have been involved in intense diplomacy with the Gulf to restore calm in the volatile region. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has landed in Riyadh, which is the first destination of his regional trip. He met Saudi Arabia Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud. Araghchi said the purpose of his visit was to discuss regional issues, particularly Lebanon and Gaza.
Our relations with Saudi Arabia are growing and are progressing in a good direction. The purpose of my trip is, of course, to consult on the regional issues and changes that are taking place in the region, in Lebanon, in Gaza, and the crimes that the Zionist regime is committing, the refugees who are now in Lebanon and how to help them. The discussion of the regional issues is the main purpose of my trip to the region.
Tehran has told Gulf Arab states that it would be unacceptable if they allowed use of their airspace or military bases for attacks against Iran. Islamic Republic has further warned any such move would evoke a serious response from Iran. The US, who named Saudi as a major defense partner last month, also held talks with the nation. Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin said he spoke to Saudi Arabia's Defense Minister Prince Khalid bin Salman to affirm Washington's commitment to the kingdom's defense. Austin and Prince Khalid also discussed the need for all parties to contribute to restoring stability and responsible governance in Lebanon.
Bye-bye.